Well, welcome, Dr. Paul Clayton, and thank you so much for joining us today. I truly appreciate your time and effort for joining us here in Australia. In fact, this is pipelining all the way around the world, and the gathering of the followers of Dr. Paul Clayton.eu has simply been unbelievable to watch what you've been able to achieve with us, okay, here at Zenzino, utilizing your science, your technology of, just all your history that you've got. Dr. Paul, what I'd like to do is I want to just get you to give me a quick 1-minute snapshot of just the history over the last, and let's just say the last 10 or 15 years of what you've been doing and how the balanced oil came into your life.
Well, if I go back over the last decade or so, in that time, I've worked for governments, for industry. I've researched and published in the academic literature. I wear a lot of different hats. Got to do something to make life interesting. And at one point, I developed an autoimmune disease. This is actually a little more than 10 years ago, which is called Graves' disease, after a period of intense stress in my life. And I was told by the medics that I could look forward to having my thyroid removed and then becoming life dependent for the rest of my life on thyroid replacement hormone. And I wasn't crazy about that idea. So I already knew a certain amount about autoimmune disease. I knew that when something like this occurs, it's your immune system that's latching onto a target in your body and destroying it over time through a process of chronic inflammation. And so I started dosing myself with a kind of precursor of balance oil, drinking fish oil and olive oil in large amounts, which I don't recommend. And after a while, what I noticed was the symptoms of my disease were getting less. And I thought that if I could maintain this kind of very specific, very selective form of immunosuppression for long enough, that maybe my immune system would forget its target, because it shouldn't really have picked on my thyroid as a target in the first place. So for about 6 months, I kept my immune system at bay while maintaining my immune system using other tricks. And then gradually stepped back, started reducing the dose, and found not to my complete surprise, but I was relieved to find that my immune system had forgotten its target. And so the disease did not progress. I don't require thyroid replacement hormone. I no longer have Graves' disease. And my doctors, who were looking after me at the time, said, well, we have heard of spontaneous remission. It's we've never seen it. It's astonishing. It's astonishingly rare. Whatever you've done, congratulations. And then I heard that there was this little company in Norway that was producing something they called Oil for Life. And they contacted me. Just really, it was a coincidence. When I realized what they were doing, I thought, okay, this is interesting. I'll go and help them and work with them and advise them. And after a couple of years or so, along came Zenzino, who at that time were a coffee company. They realized that Oil for Life had this interesting product and a blood test, which is really important. And they decided to buy Oil for Life. I realized what they were doing. And once they had done that, they realized that I was part of the office furniture, that I came along as part of the deal. And they called me into their office one day. And we sat down, Oriane, Doug, and myself. And they said, well, look, you're involved with us now. How do you feel about that? I said, well, you guys seem okay. What are your plans? And they said, well, we think we'd like to start to develop this balance oil concept. And I said, okay, but I'm not really interested in doing just that. I think we could do more than that. I think that if you utilize my pharmaconutritional background and where I think nutrition should go, you could become a life science company. I mean, I don't see us competing with Herbalife and other minor companies like that. I mean, we all know there's lots of companies in that sector who produce lots of products, most of which simply have don't work at all. And I don't much like the supplement industry. There's a lot of junk. So I wanted to become a life science company, and I suggested we could do this. And they said, sure, if you're up for it, we are too. And the story goes, and this is really how it happened. They said, well, let's talk about a brief. And I said, well, what do you think my brief should be? And they just said, well, do your best, which was amazing to me because I've worked for lots of companies in the food sector, the pharmaceutical sector, the supplement sector. I've never had a brief like that before. And I thought maybe we can really do something here. And I started working with Balance Oil, but I knew back then that we needed to broaden our portfolio because Balance Oil does a lot of good things really well, and the test is important because we can monitor what we're doing for the first time. But the modern diet doesn't just cause chronic inflammation. It causes dysbiosis, it causes type B malnutrition, it causes immunological senescence and failure. And what I felt we should do right from the start is to produce a very small portfolio of products which would address each one of those issues. So we have Balance Oil, which is very good at damping chronic inflammation in most tissues of the body, but it doesn't reach, has very little effect on the microbiome and what happens in the large bowel. And that's a really important thing because we know that dysbiosis is a very significant driver of problems not only in the large bowel but elsewhere. So we know that the WHO metadata shows us that dysbiosis is associated with a 30% increase in early mortality, and we can't address that with Balance Oil. So I developed Xenobiotic to address that. And then this type B malnutrition, which is very almost universal now because of the way in which we live. I designed Extend to address that. And it's when you put those three things together that you have what we call the health protocol. When you do that, you are rectifying all of the most substantial problems that are caused by our modern lifestyle. And what we see when we put people onto that program is that a lot of the symptoms of chronic degenerative disease start to go into remission. They start to fade over time. Many of them disappear. And many of our clients, patients, customers, call them what you will, eventually manage to become drug-free. What has emerged from this is a new idea about what chronic degenerative disease actually is. It's clearly not entropic. It's nothing to do with wear and tear. That's just a hoary old myth that no clinical scientist believes in anymore. The human body is amazingly able to repair, regenerate, and to heal. What we're doing is to provide an environment in the body which will allow those processes of healing to come to the fore and dominate over the processes of decay and destruction, which are, in most cases, due to chronic intoxication caused by the modern diet. So it's we're rethinking. I think some of the most basic concept about what non-communicable disease is, and this is beginning to look like the beginning of a new era in healthcare. We're moving on from the old pharmaceutical model, which is very good at acute medicine, very good at treating the symptoms of disease, but has done absolutely nothing to prevent the increase in chronic degenerative disease that is overwhelming healthcare systems all over the world. We know that the only way to address that is to remedy the nutritional and therefore metabolic problems caused by the modern diet and lifestyle, and that's where we are. That's what Zenzino does. Sorry, long answer to a short question. Sorry about that, Rob.
Absolutely spot on, my friend. Absolutely spot on. And look, all the listeners around the world can appreciate where you're coming from because it's right to the heart. It's exactly how it happened, and it's your passion what's driving the next generation of the products that we've got. So, Dr. Paul, can we just flip back to the test first up? Because most people that are attracted to our company or connected to the company, they normally get the test, the Zenzino or the balance test, as part of the first process. Can you just talk to me for a few minutes about why that is so important for the person that's about to consume the products, okay, or become a partner or become a customer of the company, why that Zenzino balance test is so critical?
I think it starts to bring a little bit of law and order into the wild west of the supplement industry. Now, the supplement industry is a terrible business because what it actually consists of is companies selling products that clearly don't understand. You only have to look at most of the formulations in the stores, and most of them online as well, and you can see that these people have no idea what they're doing. They're not selling products that are particularly helpful or useful. In fact, they can't be, and they're being purchased by consumers who don't, for the most part, know what they're buying. How can they? You can't ask all the consumers to become experts in nutrition, physiology, metabolomics, and all the rest of it. So it's a strange old industry, people selling stuff they don't know to people buying stuff who equally don't know what's